What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another FPL video. My name is Mo, and today I'll be going through the two assets from Manchester United, which is Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford. So they're two players which are in basically most drafts at the moment. It's a good talking point that do we have one of them, which one to choose, or if we choose both of them. So we'll discuss the arguments for both today, and we'll discuss what the Manchester United fixtures look like, who the alternatives could be if you don't go for these two players, or do you need to double up? So we'll discuss all that. Before we get stuck in, guys, if you guys haven't given us a subscribe, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button too, and like the video. So what we got on screen here first is we're going to have a look at the fixtures. So these are the fixtures for all the squads from game week 1 to game week 7. So we can isolate Manchester United individually here. So as you guys can see, we've got Wolves at home in game week 1, which is a green fixture in terms of difficulty rating. Tottenham away, it's going to be a tough game. But then you've got Nottingham Forest at home. So there's a lot of points to be achieved when you've got Wolves and Nottingham Forest at home, 2 of the first 3 games. I know there's Arsenal in game week 4, but what we need to understand is there's a real opportunity of maybe getting some really good points stacked up, even if you double up. I know people are looking at Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace, Fulham at home for Arsenal with Martinelli, Saka and Gabriel as a triple up. But Manchester United need to be in the talking point as well, because I know Arsenal, Brighton are going to be a tough game, but there's Forest in game week 3 and Wolves in game week 1, followed by Burnley and Crystal Palace in 6 and 7. So a lot of good fixtures to really target. Do you spread the odds in defence as well with Luke Shaw, maybe Onana? But the main talking point at the moment is Bruno or Rashford, both. How can we get them into our squad? So let's have a look at these players in a bit more detail, and let's see what the kind of stats say in behind what the players can value or offer value to our squad. So we've got Marcus Rashford, who hit 200 points for the first time last season with 32 starts and 24 returns in terms of an assists of 7 and goals of 17. His XG was 15.27 and his expected assists is 2.86. Do I think he'll hit the 200 points mark again this season? Personally, yes. Massively underpriced last season at 6.5 mil, and let's see where he finished on 7.2 mil, so he went up quite a bit, to be fair, and he's been priced at £9 million this year, which I think is a very generous price. He so easily could have been 9.5, but I think if we put it in perspective for players like Maddison and Foden and Grealish coming in at 7.5, it makes sense to put him at 9 mil, on par with Son, who didn't have such a great season. Barring the season before, which was 21-22, I think he was injury prone, and it was not a great season in terms of Manchester United under Rangnick. And generally, as a season, Manchester United did not have the best of seasons, where he only got 6 returns. But I think there's a lot to really look forward to in terms of Rashford. He signed a 5-year deal today as well. So if you got the extra £500,000, definitely go for the Rashford option. 41.8% of managers currently own him, which is not surprising for me whatsoever. He's in Manchester United's squad. They don't have a striker at the moment. So even if he plays up front or plays from the left-hand side, he's definitely going to be involved somewhere. In terms of like the goal threat that Manchester United pose, and they've got Mason Mount, who's added to the team this year so far, and I think generally that's going to allow Rashford with some more kind of creation to take advantage of, so that's going to be really crucial. For me personally, if I have the extra £500,000, I would go for Marcus Rashford. It's a great value asset to have. If you can double up, of course, that'd be a great shout, but out of the two, I'd rather go for Marcus Rashford depending on the budget I have in my team. Now looking at Bruno Fernandes, so Mr. Reliable Bruno Fernandes. So last season he was the most, in terms of the most creative player in terms of FPL stats. He created the most chances last season, which is phenomenal, to be fair, because he actually didn't have the greatest of seasons, according to many, overall. But I think after the World Cup, he certainly caught some really good form, and he got 17 returns at the end of it. 176 points, so not surprising that his price came down from where he was last season. Let's have a look how much he was valued last season. So he started at 10 mil and he ended at 9.5 at the end of the season. So 176 points is not a bad return, guys, to be fair, and priced at 8.5. I think he's probably one of the bargains alongside Phil Foden this campaign. So does the double up work for Manchester United? It certainly does. If you're not going for a premium in midfield, for example, like Mo Salah, there will be more budget available, so you can spread it across the 4, maybe 5 midfielders that you have. So you've got different price points that you can look at. So for example, you've got Bruno Fernandes at 8.5, Saka at 8 mil. I think it's Odegaard coming in at 8.5 as well. You've got Rashford at 9 mil, Son at 9 mil, Maddison, Foden, Grealish, 7.5 mil, Sterling, 7 mil, and then you've got Mbembo and Mitoma coming in at 6.5. So you've got a lot of choice to make through the midfield. But I think a double up of Manchester United certainly makes sense if you are going to be, spreading the odds and you want to get both and you can afford them. So maybe you could get the opportunity where you could have, double up of Arsenal in midfield. So maybe Odegaard and Saka, or Martinelli if you want to save that £500,000. And Manchester United, you could get Rashford and Bruno Fernandes in your squad. So it entirely depends what the makeup of your squad looks like. Personally, for me, I can't fit both of them in as much as I would love to. I just can't get both in my squad at the moment with the draft that I'm making. So I started with Bruno Fernandes initially when I made my first draft, but then I moved on to a second draft where I was actually able to bring in Marcus Rashford. I've been tweaking it a bit more, and I've been looking at obviously alternatives to add to my squad or remove. Potentially Onana is someone I want to get in as well. Maybe I might triple up on Manchester United with Luke Shaw in defence as well and Onana, and then I could get like a Bruno in the midfield. But that's something that I could look at and makeup wise. But I think, in terms of general output from Bruno Fernandes, he plays pretty much every game. You can see there, 37 starts. He plays pretty much every minute. His average, I think, game time is like 88 minutes or 89 minutes in the Premier League, which is quite insane. Rarely gets injured. I hope I haven't jinxed him by saying that. But we've seen that he has delivered in the past. So in his, in 2020, 2021, 244 points, where his price really went up. He got 32 returns. So can he do that again? Most certainly. It just depends on who Manchester United sign. Out of the two, if I had a choice to choose one, if I had the budget, it definitely would be Marcus Rashford. However, if I don't have that full budget and I got to save £500,000 to invest elsewhere in the squad, then most certainly I would bring in Bruno Fernandes for that reason. But let's look at some alternative options, guys, that we may have in the midfield who are actually quite popular at the moment. So team selected by Saka comes in at number 1. Over 200 points, pretty straightforward why people chose him. So there's a lot of double up and triple up of Arsenal at the moment. Fixtures are brilliant. So Forest, Palace, Fulham, Manchester United in game week 4, Everton, Spurs, Bournemouth in game week 7. If we look at, for example, Odegaard coming in as well at 20% ownership, so he's got quite a high ownership. The only thing that kind of concerns me with Odegaard, will he get the same output he got last season? Will he be as effective? And does the price point really kind of fill your confidence that he's going to achieve that again? I know he had an amazing season, 23 returns, and he started at 6.5 mil last season. But 8.5, could you invest those funds elsewhere? Or even if we look at it carefully, Martinelli comes in at £500,000 cheaper, but he only got 14 points less. So again, 24 returns for Martinelli, and he started at 6 mil last season. It was an absolute bargain. So Arsenal seems quite popular. Brighton is another team where we've got Mitoma, who's owned around by 38%. Great first 3 fixtures, and then we hit Newcastle, Manchester United, Liverpool and City until game week 9. So there are some tough fixtures in there. I think everyone's anticipating Brighton to get off to a fast start, which is understandable, and I think he's quite underpriced in my honest opinion, but I am looking for some differentials as well. So at 6.5, you've got, I think, coming in Mbembo, you've got Crystal Palace's Eze, McAllister at 6 mil, who I personally would not go for, but there's some really good options from Brighton as well. In CISO 5.5 is around 12.4 ownership in percentage-wise from managers. 5.5 is a steal. He got a few minutes last season. If he gets regular starts, Brighton do have Europe this season, which is the only thing which differs from last season. And I think if he can get a really good run in the team in the Premier League, really good points to have there, guys. So a lot of managers are entrusting within him. Then you got Mbembo as well at 25.8. Brentford has some strong fixtures, barring the game week 1, which is Spurs at home. It should be a good game for them. But barring Newcastle in game week 5 and Manchester United in game week 8, it's a really fairly solid run for Brentford. But again, the only thing that kind of comes to my mind is, will Mbembo be the striker now? Will they sign another striker? How will he be without Tony? I know people go by that last season he was better without Tony, but that's only 450 minutes sample we have. We need a bigger sample, and his numbers do go down if you look at it when he was with Tony. So I'm a bit sceptical to see what it's like. Pre-season will be massive for Brentford. And Eze, as I've discussed in my previous videos, 12% nearly ownership as well, 6.5 mil. I think he's pretty much the talisman for Crystal Palace. Not bad fixtures, to be fair, to start with. They've got Sheffield United, Arsenal and Brentford. But then Wolves, Aston Villa and Fulham do fill me with a lot of confidence, and Forest in game week 8. So that's another option to consider. How can we not talk about Manchester City in this video? So Phil Foden, who's in my current draft at the moment, coming in again around 12%. Will this be the year he breaks out? We had this conversation for the last 3 or 4 years. Will this be the year where he gets more minutes? I don't think he'll get any better than this. considering that Mahrez is on the verge of leaving, Gundogan has left, Bernardo Silva, you know, is he going to play out on the right? De Bruyne being injured, will he get the central 8/10 role? We're just going to have to wait to see what Pep plays in pre-season as well. But I think this might be the season when Phil Foden actually breaks through, and at 7.5 mil, what a fantastic price to bring him in. I think it's certainly worth the price. So again, there's a lot of options in there. Do we double up on Manchester United? Do we don't? I personally believe that if I didn't have Salah in my team, I personally would double up on Manchester United based on the fixtures, and I just think the output's great for the price points. However, based on my structure, I'm going for one, and as we stand, I have Rashford. But if I do make any more tweaks and I need to have, you know, save an extra half a mil elsewhere, then Bruno comes in automatically. But if you can fit both in and you're looking to get them in, I think personally for myself, definitely get them into your squad, guys. That's all from me, guys. Bruno versus Rashford. Choose both if you can. If you can't, choose one of them, which you can choose based on your budget. Have a good one. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I'll be back with some more content very soon.